Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori if you're new here, coming to you late night once again, and we are just kind of finishing up our days here in Colorado. But I was doing something today and I wanted to take you along to do that with me, but I ended up not taking the camera. So I did a brief synopsis and I wrote down a few items that I was putting together for my neighbor, and it got me thinking because I get so many questions and so many comments about older family members preparing for their younger family members, or people that want to be established in a community and just can't seem to make that connection. And that was totally me, not so much the older family member situation, but it was me in a new community and me trying to establish these connections for my family, because I truly believe community is what is going to bring us all together. It may sound sappy to some of you, but I truly believe that in my heart. I still believe that there are good people in this world and that there are good people in this nation. And I do think we have a lot in common. We have a lot of common ground. But right now we're kind of fighting a divisive system, and that's just where we're at. So hopefully this brings us together. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Tori. We try and do preparedness on a budget here on the channel. I've been doing videos for about 6 years and kind of shifted my way into preparedness about 3 years ago, maybe 4. And I really loved going to be competing with that. Sorry, I'll try and speak louder. I really loved just getting into this kind of content because it was myself in motherhood. I felt called to do this, and yeah, we've been doing it ever since. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely hit the subscribe button. We like to keep things pretty positive yet realistic. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like preparedness without any sort of threatening agenda, then my channel is the place for you. If you feel comfortable, definitely introduce yourself in the comments down below. I've been trying my best to keep up with the comments, but it's been a little tricky. If you're new, we're moving across the country and we're doing that very, very soon. So I've been trying to do that, and all of the other mom things. I am a mom of 3, newly stay-at-home mom. So getting the hang of that has been a little tricky. Okay, I had to readjust the camera here. I'm trying my best with the lighting, but I put together a list of 10 items. And why I'm doing this, because I have been in the content that I've been in for 3 years. I have companies that reach out that want to talk to me about preparedness, and I think that's a blessing, absolutely. And sometimes there's companies out there that I'm just really not a fan of. So I do want you to know that a lot of these items that I'm about to talk about, you can just get at a Walmart or a thrift store or somewhere cheap. They don't have to be items that have been sent to me. And again, I'm so grateful for that. I'd love to put together a little package in the future and send it to one of you as a giveaway or something like that. But I thought maybe if you have it in your time or have it in your finances, you could make these little kits for neighbors or your children, or maybe a family member that you just haven't gotten through to about preparedness, and you could have that for them. I will say, it takes a generous heart. I recently mentioned to someone in the comments that I've done something like this and they were very perplexed. So I don't know, I guess it takes a type of personality, but maybe this could get through to you, just to maybe spend an extra $10 or $20, and you could keep them in Rubbermaids, maybe 10 on hand or something like that. That way, in the event of an emergency, someone that may be unprepared, could come to you and you could give that to them, or it could be a bartering tool or something of the sort. But it may just help out a community member that could really need the support. So number 1 on my list, I'm going to put this list in the description box, but I just took a large clear Rubbermaid container. I wrote it down in my notepad here, but what I did was take a Rubbermaid container. You could put a backpack or a bag, and I really was thinking about that, maybe keeping things light so it could be in a bag in the event of an emergency and you actually have to leave the home, but an elderly neighbor needs help, or maybe you have to get these bags to your adult children or something like that. I don't know. So maybe a backpack would suffice. They have them at Walmart for like $10, or you could do a thrift store. It doesn't even have to be a backpack. It could just be a bag, but I was putting it in a Rubbermaid container because I was just handing it off into a neighbor today. So the first thing that I put in there was water for 5 days, and FEMA suggests water for 3 days, but it just depends. It depends where you are. We're in a rural town in Colorado, and I'm just not confident they could get to us in 3 days, but you know, you never know. Okay, so the suggested water per person is 1 gallon per day. So I have 5 gallons in there, and I just grabbed them from a local store. But you also need to think about other ways you use water. So you may need a water filter and a large vessel to gather the water, and I happen to have an extra vessel, so I threw it in the kit. That might get a little pricey. As you know, I've worked with companies that have given just portable water filters, so I did a straw water filter in that kit as well, and then some sort of way to hold the water, like I was saying. Maybe an outdoor shower if they're worried about that in the event of an emergency. And that's just a bag that's gravity fed. You can hang it up in a tree and it comes out in a little tube. Maybe it might feel nice to wash your face. Not necessary. I was just thinking of some items here, and you will see that in my list. A lot of these aren't necessary for survival, but maybe someone could be comfortable. I do feel that cleanliness is important, especially for an extended emergency, just for, you know, personal hygiene and things like that. So you could also throw in a Wonder Washer, and that's a way to wash clothes. We have one of those. It's just a pressurized bucket. You put hot water, your detergent, and you spin it and spin it and spin it. But again, not necessary. You could just do this in a bathtub or a bucket of water, or you could just pack extra clothes or something like that. But I didn't really do any personal items because that's on the person to do something like that. And then I just put a pot in that area so they can boil water if they need to. So that's number 1 on the list, we shall say, but each category will encompass a lot of different items. Number 2, canned food. And I just did some canned soups that I had, and you could give some of your home canned items out if you want to, just something that has sustenance. So you could do canned vegetables, but honestly, I didn't want to waste the weight on that, so I just did some canned soups. You can get organic varieties, or you could even find the glass jarred soups that are really tasty. And then I did want to put some long-term food items in there. So these are foods that store indefinitely. So rice and beans, MREs, or home freeze-dried food, like if you have a freeze dryer and you did some of your meat or something like that, that's always nice to have. And you can store them in Mylar and then just pour boiling water in it and you have a meal instantly. A lot of people don't like that because of the amount of sodium in those MREs, so it's up to personal preferences. And then I threw some seed packets in there, again, in a direct emergency, probably not, but non-GMO heirloom seed packets are great to throw in there in the event of an emergency. I have one linked in the description box, but you can find any seeds you want, and it's great. It's the gift that keeps giving, because if you put them in your garden and collect your seeds, you can just keep planting. It's such a fun time. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I feel like that's just a good list to just have on hand for food, but again, personal preference. It's what works for you. Next, I have a burner stove and propane. I have matches and kindling and some of my homemade fire starters. I just took some dryer lint and put them in a toilet paper roll, and then you just spark it up, and then a camp stove that doesn't require, anything. So that would be really easy to just keep on hand. I had an extra one. That's why I put it in there. So again, that's something that might add some price to these little kits if you're making them for other people, but I feel like they would be an investment. So put a camp stove in there, just a way to cook food in general. Of course you can eat these canned foods cold, but it is always nice to have a warm meal in the event of an emergency. So next up is going to be a multi-tool utensil, plates and napkins. And a multi-tool utensil, it's just like a camp utensil. So you have a fork on one hand, a spoon, and then you can do a fold out knife. And then I used to store extra spatulas and extra spoons, thinking I'm just gonna hightail it to the mountains and cook away. Probably in the event of an emergency, I'm not going to really be worried about that. I'll probably just stir it by actually moving the pot back and forth and using that multi-tool spoon or something like that. So my point is, you don't really need a lot when it comes to cooking utensils. You could just find one multi-tool. They're like $2.88 from Walmart in the camping section, or I'm sure you can find something at a thrift store or a local army surplus or what have you. You could do really whatever you want there, but maybe some paper plates or just a regular plate that you could wash off, and some napkins. And then I did put some wipes in there, just some face wipes that you can use for your hands and things like that to keep yourself clean. And that was it for that category. Next up, I put a crank radio. I've talked about a ham radio, but that's really something that I'd save for myself. Those get a little pricey. And not a lot of people know how they function or work, so a crank radio might be good just so they can be able to communicate and or hear what's going on. I don't know. I have my concerns about that too, but I think it's important to have. And then I have solar chargers in there, a way to charge whatever you need to keep charged if you want to go that route with some of your electronics. And then a portable power station. So I have a couple. I like the Jackery one just because it's light. That's linked in the description box. I don't have a coupon code or anything, but you can shop through the link and go from there. Obviously, there are so many on the market. I have a few emails right now with companies that want to work with me. So if you want to see something like that in the future, let me know, because I would love to test out different ones to really find the best one on the market. Power stations and generators are a little pricey these days, and I feel like getting the best bang for your buck is important. So I'm going to respond to emails and start back up with those collaborations once we get back to where we're moving to. But it's a process, so I'll keep you posted on that. So portable power stations, it just might be good to have something with solar so you can keep those charged. Next on my list of categories, I have extra clothes, blankets, a rain poncho, or honestly a garbage bag would work. And then on the subject of extra clothes, socks and sneakers, maybe a hat or a jacket. It depends. That category, I really didn't put any clothes into this bag, but I had extra blankets, so I put those in there, and then a rain poncho. And then I did have this sleeping bag, and it just folds up like tin foil. Basically, it's not tin foil, but it's made from a blend of materials. It doesn't have just one material listed, so I put that in there. It just folds up, and it's super light, and you can get them at Walmart or wherever you want. So I felt like that was a good thing to have in the kit. Next up is going to be a first aid kit. I just did a basic one that I again got from Walmart, and it has bandages in there. It has some ointments for wounds. I put some of my homemade salve in there and some of my tinctures. The person that I'm giving it to knows about medicinal healing, so she understands that, but that might be unique to someone that you're giving it to, so be mindful of that. And then I did put a reminder in there of, hey, get some medications if you need to stock up. So obviously I don't have access to that person's medications if they have any, and it might be nice to have an extra supply of that. A tourniquet might be a good thing to have in there. And then charcoal and charcoal powder, you can use that for so many things. You can use it to even have clean water. And no, I'm not talking about cooking charcoal. I've had to make that distinction in the past, and someone was irate at me because I didn't make that distinction. So I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not charcoal that you cook with, just your plain old charcoal block to keep water clean, but you can also use it in powder form to give to a child or even yourself if you ingest something poisonous, just to delay any sort of reaction that you might have. It binds to toxins, so that might be something to look into. And I always say my supplements, and they're linked in the description box, but I take beef liver, I take chlorella for toxins, and I take mushroom immunity because it's phenomenal for your immune health. So find something that works for you, a regimen that works for you. I also drink Happy Juice by the brand Amari, and that can get a little pricey. So I always say, just make sure you find a regimen that works for you, and then keep an extra stock on hand. I like Amari's products just because they're essentially shelf-stable probiotics, and having a good gut, believe it or not, may help you in an emergency. Next up on my categories is going to be personal safety, self-defense, right? And we talk about that a lot. Get familiar with the tool that you are using. Be confident in the tool that you are using. Even if you're an expert, keep going out there and practicing. I feel like it's so important. And you don't have to choose one tool. I am an advocate for the most powerful tool. It is my responsibility as a person and a mother to defend myself when a threat is present, and I feel empowered to have one in the event of an emergency. So you can have that, and then something that powers that tool. You could also have some sort of multi-tool. You could have a knife. I always think a collapsible axe is nice to have, again, at Walmart for inexpensive, in case you need something other than self-defense. You can use that for a lot of things. I have one of the self-defense whistles, just because they're very loud, honestly, and they can stop a direct threat just because they are so loud for someone else's ears. I have one linked in the description box, but you can find them a lot of different places. OC spray is nice to have. It's like pepper spray, but just a little stronger. And then I also have a taser on there if you want to keep that with you. So you can find these items in a lot of places. I, of course, did not hand all of that off to a friend in my emergency kit, but she is familiar with self-defense and she should be just fine. She might even be better than me. I have on the next category printed maps of the area, and I had extra copies to hand out just in case, so I just went to my library and printed them out. It was free printing, but I've been in towns, where it's 15 cents a copy or something like that, but I feel like it's totally worth it. So maps of the area, waterways, roadways, and then I also found some native plants and animals and things that you might encounter that you may not know if you should touch it or not. I mean, here in Colorado, they're pretty presentable. You can see that. But in Pennsylvania, I will say the forest, it's not confusing to me, but some of those plants, they look identical to medicinal plants that can help you, but they're really just poisonous. So that's something that you should look into and familiarize yourself with. And then I also, this may be debatable, but I also have a translator book in my kit, and I had an extra one, so I threw that in there. There is, an influx of people coming into our country, and they speak a variety of languages. I feel that communication is key, even in a threat. So this translator book has just some pretty direct conversation pieces. It's not a full translation to different languages, but I feel like it's important. I also feel like it's important to assimilate if you're coming to another country. You can, of course, bring your culture, but it's just my personal opinion that communication is key. So hopefully that is okay to say on here. It might just be something helpful in the future. And then last but not least on my small but mighty list is going to be light. So flashlights. I have 3-day candles in there. They're incredible. I had tested one out because I was so curious when I first got them. They're very inexpensive and you can keep them on hand. And then on the subject of candles, you could make your own candles, and then you could also get a big pack of tea light candles. In the wintertime, we had lost power and I wanted to cook a warm meal for the kids, so I figured out a way to do that. So I just lit my pot, I got the water boiling, and it was pretty awesome. We had some good food, and it was all cooked with a tea light candle and a pot. So you could also cook with candle if you needed to. And then I always say solar lamps. A way to be powered with solar is important, but regular lamps that are battery operated are important to have too. So you might need some extra batteries. I didn't have any on hand, but I feel like what I have in this kit for a friend is going to be helpful in the event of an emergency. It doesn't have to just go with your neighbor, it could be for an adult child that may not be prepared. It could be for someone on the go. Again, you could use these kits for bartering purposes, but if you have it in the funds, you could just set aside a few dollars a week, and this could be your preparedness. And believe it or not, a lot of these things you may have on hand already. So look around your home, see what you can use in the event of an emergency, see what you could put together to help you. Just really try and think outside of the box. Just sit with these items and see if they have multiple uses, and then put that in the box and then go from there. Again, I really do feel that this would be better suited for a backpack, just in case you do need to leave your home or that person is on the go. I talk about 72-hour kits often and how we have them and how they're just nice to have on hand, but that's something that you may have to keep up with when it comes to food in that pack. So that's another reminder, just to maybe set something on your calendar once a month to check everything out in there. I always like to lay it out just to see what we have, familiarize my family with it, show the kids how things work in there, and what to do in the event of an emergency. If these people that you're preparing for are your family, maybe print out or plan out some sort of plan in the event of an emergency and go over scenarios. I know that talking about emergencies like this is a hard topic. I was like that a couple of years ago, and then, you know, I just really thought about it in a rational way, and it is up to me as a mother and as a lead of the family to really just have this plan so everybody can be prepared and do a part. Just because you have children doesn't mean that they won't have a role in your plan. So I hope this was helpful. I know a lot of you are new, so please introduce yourself. I am so excited to move, so stay tuned. I'm going to try my best to do these videos, but I've really just been coming to you in this empty room hoping to just get a video filmed and edited for you. I know a lot of you understand. I don't feel a pressure to make them, but I do want to continue to connect with a lot of you. So let me know some items that you would put in a 72-hour kit for yourself or your family, and let me know if you've ever done something like this. I feel like it would be a great thing to have for the community. I feel like these items are pretty attainable. You can also find some of these items free in different places. Those first aid kits that I got from Walmart, I had, but we just went to an event for the community and they had first aid kits and they were giving them out. So just keep that in mind. You know, you may be able to find a lot of these items for free. So again, if you're new, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more content with some different scenery. We are in the West and we are moving to the East Coast. So I'm excited for the green. I am excited for a East Coast fall. It's always my favorite time of year. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
So casually keep diving